final topic from two different points of view. Niners made a big move yesterday, signing tight end Jordan Reed. Let's look at this move from the 49ers perspective. Why is this good for them? Why is this a bonanza for them?
First of all, what you need to do, because you're the football expert, tell us what Jordan Reed does good, or if I wanted to, does well, and tell us what his issues are.
Okay. He's not the blocker George Kittle is, but as a receiver, he arguably is better at getting open. Now, Kittle is great after the catch, and he's good at getting open too, but Jordan Reed is this guy who's always open. He's 6'2", 240 pounds, and he's caught about 74% of the passes that have come his way during his career. So he's the guy, he's the quarterback's best friend. He's the safety blanket and all that stuff. On 3rd and 8, he's the guy you go to. On 3rd and goal from the 9, he's the guy you go to. He scored a lot more touchdowns in his career than Kittle. Not as well-rounded as Kittle, but as a number 2 guy who catches passes, he's more experienced than anyone else on the team. Besides Kittle, he gives them a number 2 option if they need one, but he's had 7 concussions in his career. He probably has to worry about CTE anyway. He didn't play at all last year. Every time he gets the ball, people are going to be a little worried about what happens to him. So that's what he needs to prove, that he can make it through a training camp before he becomes a part of the offense, but he potentially could become a big one.
Okay. Let's linger a moment on the 7 concussions. I'm a boxing guy. That means to me a boxer who's been knocked out for the count 7 times.
It's a lot.
A boxer to me who's been knocked out 7 times shouldn't box anymore.
Right.
I'm not talking about Jordan Reed. I'm making an analogy. I'm making a comparison. When I see a guy's record, and I understand it, you could get stopped. The referee thinks you were taking too much punishment or you got a cut. But down for the count for 7, I think it's extremely dangerous. Dangerous to the point of I'm worried the guy might die his next fight. I love boxing, but I don't want people to die. So what you've told me about him is troubling. Now,
Yes.
Of course, they wear helmets and all of that. It's extremely troubling. Steve Young had a lot of concussions. I don't think he had that many, but after a while, it was clear he wasn't going to play again because he wanted to have a brain. In later life, he wanted to be a good husband and a father. So what you're telling me about Jordan Reed is worrisome. Okay, what's good from the Niners' point of view? Well, I could see a lot of plays with 2 tight ends.
Exactly. From this run-first team, why use 2 wide receivers anyway? A couple of things. You're a run-first team. You don't need 2 wide receivers. Second of all, Jimmy Garoppolo might be the best quarterback in the league when it comes to throwing to people over the middle. Slot receivers, tight ends, running backs. He wants to do that. Not the greatest throwing outside the numbers. So bring in more guys. Jordan Reed's another blocker, another guy that can go over the middle, and he's big. He's perfect fit if he can avoid an 8th concussion.
Yes, if he can stay sound. But what I'm hearing is in our discussions today, Jimmy may be more mobile. Kyle Shanahan may open up the offense for him more. And now he's got another significant weapon in his wheelhouse, the short to medium pass over the middle. And there's another blocker at the line of scrimmage for this phenomenal running game. So I'm thinking—
left tackle. Not to mention the left tackle, Trent Williams.
Good. So I'm thinking, even though they're having issues with wide receiver, this offense, which is fabulous, could even be better.
I totally agree. When they lost Emmanuel Sanders, I thought, what a blow. But when you look at how they've retooled, they didn't really try to replace him. They've tried to move their offense. They've tried to compact it, move it closer to the middle of the field, and it's perfectly suited for Jimmy Garoppolo, and it's a really smart evolution from Kyle Shanahan. And early in the offseason, we talked about how he might evolve his offense from last year to this year. And what I said at the time was, I think they're going to use more 2 tight end formations and more play action and go down the field more often, because teams are going to be loaded up to stop the run. You bring in another tight end, teams are really going to load up to stop the run, and all of a sudden they're going to be biting on play action fakes all day. So it's up to Jimmy to hit those throws, and what he's saying is he's physically capable of doing it now. So I think you're right.
Yeah, and what I'm feeling is that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are really smart. Mm-hmm. They're really thinking it through, and I assume they talk to each other, Iggy. I mean, I'm not with them. I assume they talk to each other, and they're saying, who do we want to be? I mean,
Yes.
They're asking fundamental questions. In philosophy, you'd call it ontological questions.
Yeah.
Who are we? Who do we want to be?
Yeah.
What is the nature
Who can
of our
we
being?
be?
I'm sorry?
Who can we be given the
can we
players we
be?
have?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like with Joe Montana, what you always said is Bill Walsh didn't necessarily want to create the West Coast offense. He did it because of the quarterbacks he had.
Yes. Joe, as we know, was great, but he didn't have a long arm, couldn't throw long. So
Yeah.
Bill had to adapt. And what's more, Bill adapted.
Right.
And he made him probably the greatest quarterback ever.
And the mark of a good coach is how he adapts, not his scheme. Because your scheme can get figured out. It could be good one year, it could be bad the next. It's how do you adjust and evolve? And for Shanahan, I think we questioned that the first couple of years of him because he's a young guy. He's been indoctrinated by his dad. How much can he evolve? He's beginning to.
Okay. Final point on this is what Iggy and I are talking about is a very interesting concept. A scheme coach versus a wide open coach.
Yes.
We thought Shanahan was a scheme. He learned from Mike, and that's all he did. What we're learning is he's evolving. A scheme coach is Gruden. Gruden learned third hand, I guess from Holmgren, second hand from what Bill was doing. He memorized it. He can do it, but he can't do anything else.
That's right.
He can't do anything else. He is a prisoner of his scheme, and as a result, he's not a very good coach. In spite of what he won a Super Bowl, he's mediocre.
As opposed to Andy Reid, who comes from the same coaching tree, also studied under Holmgren, and is one of, if not the best at adapting his scheme to the talents of his players. Just look at what he allows Patrick Mahomes to do. Remember, Kyle Shanahan didn't want Patrick Mahomes, could have drafted him, decided not to because he wanted Kirk Cousins. Patrick Mahomes likes to freelance. He is a freelance quarterback. And Andy Reid says, you know what? Do what you want to do. I'll take my ego out of it. I love you. Do whatever. So that's what Kyle Shanahan can evolve to one day, but that's usually the mark of an older coach.
Yeah, and I think what Iggy and I have just talked about for football fans, of course, there are certain key concepts. One concept, thinking of coaches, is he a scheme coach or is he more open-minded?
Is he a football coach?
I'm sorry, Iggy. And this is one way to evaluate coaches. Does he stick to the book or does he write a new chapter?
You said, is he a scheme coach? The other thing, it's a scheme coach or a football coach.
I love it. Yeah.
Because scheme coaches aren't really football coaches. They copied someone else's ideas. And if something goes wrong, they don't know how to fix it. That's the way I look at it.
I like it.
Sorry, I talked over you. I was trying to insert that one before you kept going.
You know what happens? This is interesting because we're used to doing this side by side in my office here at home. There's a sort of like a delay, a disconnect when we talk. So we tend to talk over each other, which is fine. But viewers, I want you to know we actually have talked about talking over each other. And we even started by saying, before we get on air, let's make sure not to talk over each other. And then we do.
I get excited. I'm sorry.